Yeah, I can do that. That'll be fine. Some work there. Water runs through that switch.
That house basement, isn't it? You guys want to get out and walk down that way a little ways?
Get off right there.
Or you getting good enough?
How'd that truck get her?
He parked it up there on a high space, thought he'd save it. Kid went over. I don't think I can get through there, old buddy.
Okay. That gum water's still running through there, isn't it? I've seen lately. They're trying to get it out, aren't they?
Yeah.
Gotta open it. There's a glass in the head. Everything's running.
What?
That thing.
Yes. Close the door. Ain't that something? Sure looks like it. Do what, Jack?
They're gonna go ahead and stick ties on this too, like they what we want to do this.
We can, yeah.
Let me check around and see what I can find. So you assume if I have to get Millers, I can get a tractor.
Okay.
Alright. I'll tell Bill to have him check it.
Airport and everything was on the front page of the New York Times yesterday, according to Max. Get around here and get a look at the railroad now. That's going to make everybody happy. I'm not at all happy with myself. Look at that. That's the dadgummit mess you ever did see.
You have it ready next week?
First large location, looking back east towards St. Joe, milepost 4.34. The switch you see goes into the BMS warehouse where the NEKM had their first office building. This once again is the 4.34 location looking back west toward Wathena. This location is 8 or 9 rail lengths long. Probably a 10 to 12 foot hole. See a battery box there for the flasher. 30 highway. Pretty severe washout. Take a little while to fix. Water was running through this area probably 8 or 9 days, 6 to 8 feet above the existing rail. Just east of the BMS switch, 4.25. There's a BMS building. One of our customers, Galt Packaging, is in there. The water in that building was 4 feet deep. They pretty much recovered from the flood as far as back operation goes. There's a lot of cleanup yet to do. We'll proceed on east here, showing you various spots until we get up in between the 2 and 3 mile, and we'll get a little higher view of this. Location here about 4.22, still going east. This is right across from the BMS warehouse. Numerous locations. Most of them are a little larger than this one, 2 to 4, 6 feet deep as we proceed on east towards the city of Elwood. Another location, 4.20, small hole, there's 2 of them. Damage would have been more severe here if it wasn't for this large building being in the way of the water and forced it pretty much around this area right here. You can see all this ballast out toward the property line. Another location, about 4.15, rail and a half so long, a couple feet deep. About the last one that we crossed the Apple Orchard Road. Still, we're continuing east. Here at 4.1, looking east, you can see there's numerous washouts onto the east. Probably 7 or 8 before we get up along the old highway here that runs adjacent to the track. Basically all of them are the same, 2 to 4 rail lengths, 2, 4, 6 feet deep. Typical washouts for this area. Another location, still heading east, right around the milepost 4. Two and a half, 3 rail lengths long. About 3.9, still looking east. A couple 3 small ones here in a row. Right next to these bean fields, and there was a home, apple orchard. All this in through here had up to 12 feet of water covering the railroad and all this property for several days. It was very devastating to the people who live in these homes and all these property owners, as well as the railroad. We're at about 3.75, right in that area, still looking east. As we progress east, you get into the more severely damaged areas where there was more flow, swift current, really wide open spaces, and it did quite a bit more damage where there wasn't anything obstructing its flow. .70, still looking east. This is where we break out behind the orchard and these homes and get out into the wide open area now, you can see all the trash and debris washed up on the railroad. The spot here is probably 10, 12 feet deep, 2 or 3 rail lengths long. Pretty nasty little spot. Area right in here is 3.68, 67. Little short washout. Several of them up through here like this. Another small one there, still looking east. You can see we're a mile or so out of Elwood proper. It's pretty much still farming. A few houses. To our left over here will be Rosecrans Airport. The area right in here is pretty shallow as far as being washed out, but all the ballast is gone. It's quite a few ties are missing. Not going to be too difficult to fix. It's a little time consuming. Get rid of all this debris and all that kind of stuff. It's fairly long. But wouldn't have expected anything like this, at least wise I didn't. Coming up on a 3.5. Still a few little short washouts. A lot of trash. We've had a lot of heavy rain the last few days. You can see all that water standing in those fields out there. Spot right here that a lot of trash just about knocked all the ties off when it banged up against the railroad and kind of hung up there. We're going to be coming up on the very first one of 3 of the worst washouts of the bunch. It's pretty nasty when it's not as long as the other 2, but it is be quite a challenge. It's whole water and what to do with the railroad when you're trying to fix it. It's about 3.40. You can see the ballast is all chewed away, shoulder fill. Railroad's kind of just hanging up there in the air. If we go a little further here, we're going to see it where the water actually cut through. There's about 5 rail lengths of that shoulder and fill cut away pretty bad. Here we get into the railroad hanging in about 11 or 12 rail lengths of track that's kind of suspended there, kind of like a swing bridge. Fairly deep, probably 25 feet or so from grade or where it really belongs. It's going to be a little while to fix it and quite a bit of material to fill up this hole. So you can see most of our fill material for the most part is mixed in with so much dirt it's not reusable or it's plumb gone from the force of the water. Just pretty much took it and done whatever it wanted to with it. Looking back west on this location, about 3.40, kind of give you a different view of it. This is Rosecrans Airport, kind of an industrial type airport for St. Joe, as well as a air guards base there, very heavily damaged. It's come through there and tore up everything like it did everywhere else. About 3.20. The second of the 3 large washouts. This one here is fairly long. We estimate 2,000 feet where it really begins to kind of where it quits. Sorry about this jumping around so, but it's not a very good other way to get a picture of it without getting up a little higher. This is probably going to be the toughest one to fix due to the fact it's wet, just a lot of distance. As you can see, there's water everywhere you look around us. These old lakes and whatnot. These these areas of this water was where the 52 flood come through, and this was the Missouri River at one day in time on the other side of those piling driven out there. And there's another picture of the airport. Tremendous amount of water come through here. Just unbelievable. Looking back west on that same location, about 3.25. That area right where that bulldozer is sitting in that muddy area in the road was a big hole in the road where the water come through, and you can see the thing's got quite a bit of distance to it. You can see it rocking and rolling down through there. It's more of that same area. Looking back west, there was a kind of little county dirt road that got washed away. We can see this location continues on east here. It's
Car coming.
Milepost 3 right there, laying on the ground. Just looking east of Milepost 3 on towards St. Joe here. Dadgummit. Track here is all out of alignment. It's shoved over in the brush there. It's probably 15 feet in some places from center line where it belongs. Quite a bit of debris up against it. As we go on down toward 2.5, toward Airport Crossing, just numerous small washouts, typical of what we've already seen. We'll see a couple more locations, and then we'll go uptown Elwood in the 1.5 in that area up there, and look at the rest of it. .5 area here. Getting back into where the washouts are going to be more spotty due to the fact we're in the populated area again, and the flow is obstructed by buildings and houses and trees, and first one thing and another, they're pretty spotty. Coming up on Airport Road, 2 or 3 small washouts in this area. See the signal case there, that 3 or 4 feet up on where that difference in the color of the paint, that's where the water line stood for several days. It was higher than that at one point, but it stood at that line for several days. We're going across this crossing, there's a washot or 2 over there. So,
Come back here, feet to that dead girl.
west end of the Elwood yard, the runaround goes into Elwood Warehouse, which we do some business in there, cans and paper, food, dog food that is. You can see we had a couple of boxcars in there for loading, and they were about half loaded at the time of the flood. They've now unloaded them. Water was up into the product. 2 of them there. Getting up close to the main yard at Elwood, the 7 or 8 rail links here washed out 4 and 5 feet deep, washed out in a couple of switches, not too severe. Dog houses are plenty, and kids' little riding toys, we can see everything that wasn't nailed down. Over at the east end of Elwood Yard, 1.25. Main line just kind of washed out in spots and just looks like a washboard. 3 yard tracks basically need some ballast. The tire condition's pretty good shape. Far track over goes into Wayne Feed. Big elevators, just a little ballast in places. The track structure's in good shape. Looking on east towards St. Joe here, we got the third of the 3 spots that's damaged the worst. The track you can see is all washed to one side, completely washed out. Not in very good shape. Big pool of water here to deal with, and working closely with the city and the Corps on this. Still here at the east end of Elwood, where the yard industry comes back into the main track. It's all pretty well washed out. Fortunately, there's no big holes. You know, they all be repaired fairly easily. More so than in places with the big deep holes and so on. It's not good, but it's better than some. This area right here is going to be of a big concern, I think, to everybody. Take quite a few yards of ballast or riprap to fill this hole up. Pretty deep. Not so long, but it's deep. Here we are up at milepost 1, or 1.5. You can see the tremendous amount of water coming through here. It just destroyed homes, and this hole of water is fairly deep in places. Fortunately, under the railroad over there, it's only 4 or 5 feet deep. See Herzog Contracting in the background over there, just now getting the asphalt plant back online. Milepost 1 looking towards St. Joe Bridge. Track's not in too bad shape for very far that away, just a couple hundred yards. Vermont Street crossing right here, it's all washed out, the street, everything. It's flashers and signals, all that are pretty well gone here. Looking back west on this big hole at 1.5, it looks really worse than it is, even though it is a fairly large hole. The city's done a lot to fill it in so far, and it's going to take some material. Another look at Vermont Street here. Only one flasher left standing. Yesterday morning, Milepost 7.1. Depends on who you talk to, 6 to 10 inch rain in an extremely short amount of time. Took out large trees out of the river bank. The river was up to